Now, shortly after his victory was predicted, President Lee Jae-myung delivered his first public address in Yeouido, the site of his final campaign rally. He pledged to overcome the insurrection affair and restore democracy.
Supporters have gathered outside the National Assembly. In his first speech to the public, President Lee Jae-myung vowed to carry out the mission the public has entrusted him without a hitch and as a first order of business, overcome the insurrection affair.
다시는 국민이 맡긴 총칼로 국민을 겁박하는 군사 쿠데타는 없게 하는 일, 반드시 그 사명에 따라서 지켜내겠습니다.
He pledged all-out efforts to revive the economy and restore public livelihood. He also said there will be no picking sides across gender or region and called achieving public unity a presidential duty.
다른 색깔의 옷을 잠시 입었을지라도 이제 우리는 모두 위대한 대한민국의 대한국민들입니다. 함께 갑시다.
In his first speech, the most frequently mentioned words were people, the Republic of Korea, and responsibility, while the expression unity or integration also appeared 3 times. He said a president's power should not be used for personal gain, but for people's lives and the country's future.
내란의 밤부터 지금 이 순간까지 풍찬 노숙하면서 간절히 바랬던 것, 이 나라가 평범한 시민들의 나라라는 사실.
He also vowed to take responsibility for the public's life and safety and build a stable Korean peninsula through deterrence on North Korea and inter-Korean dialogue.
There's no presidential transition committee for this presidency. President Lee took the oath of office in the National Assembly Wednesday morning and kicked off his duties. In his inaugural address, he also pledged to launch an emergency task force to boost the economy and improve people's livelihoods.
President Lee Jae-myung began his official duties as president by visiting the Seoul National Cemetery. He then took the oath of office in the National Assembly's Rotunda Hall in the presence of the heads of the 5 branches of government, including the National Assembly Speaker, the Supreme Court Chief Justice, and lawmakers from both parties.
나는 헌법을 준수하고
In his inaugural address, he declared his intention to end divisive politics and overcome the current crisis by making national unity his driving force.
이제 출범하는 민주당 정권 이재명 정부는 정의로운 통합정부, 유연한 실용정부가 될 것입니다. 통합은 유능함의 지표이고 분열은 무능의 결과입니다.
He pledged a thorough investigation to restore democracy that was undermined by the insurrection.
깊고 큰 상처 위에 희망을 꽃피우라는 준엄한 명령, 완전히 새로운 나라를 만들라는 그 간절한 염원에 응답하겠습니다.
He also stressed that his administration would begin by launching an emergency economic response task force to revive the economy and improve people's livelihoods.
불황과 일전을 치른다는 각오로 비상경제 대응 TF를 곧바로 지금 즉시 가동하겠습니다. 국가 재정을 마중물로 삼아 경제 선순환을 되살리겠습니다.
He noted that the new administration would be a pragmatic, market-oriented government. On North Korea policy, he pledged to open communication channels with Pyongyang and pursue peace on the Korean peninsula through dialogue and cooperation. He then headed straight to the Yongsan presidential office to begin his official duties. He previously said he would relocate his office to Cheongwadae as soon as restoration work is complete. With no transition committee, he is expected to begin his official duties immediately, making use of the Yongsan presidential office for the time being.
Many challenges lie ahead for the newly elected president. After a long leadership vacuum, the need for fast and decisive policy action has never been stressed as much. Next up, we take a closer look at which policies President Lee is likely to prioritize.
the snap election was called because of former President Yoon Suk-yeol's martial law declaration and his subsequent impeachment, President Lee Jae-myung is expected to put policy priority on restoring constitutional order. He will likely revamp martial law-related laws and implement policies with a focus on strengthening the military's political neutrality.
당연히 계엄의 요건을 엄격하게 강화해야죠. 그리고 대통령의 거부권도 제한해야 됩니다.
Immediate measures are also necessary to end the diplomatic vacuum that has continued since December. Right after Lee's inauguration, the US is expected to push forward with tariff talks. Lee's first test will likely be meeting Donald Trump to present Korea's strategy and persuade the US president effectively. Washington is also likely to demand defense cost sharing and discuss adjustment to US troops stationed in Korea. This presents the challenge of adjusting policy while maintaining Seoul's security posture.
안보 이익이든 경제 이익이든 그 이익을 가장 우선시하는, 가장 중심에 두는 그리고 가장 실용적인 협상들, 정책들을 구사해 나가야 되지 않겠냐 그렇게 생각합니다.
During his campaign, he said he had no plans to push for prosecution or judicial reform in the early days of his term. He had stressed that economic policies that are little disputed among rival parties will be the first to be carried out with speed.
With President Lee Jae-myung's victory, the government shifts back to the progressive bloc after 3 years under conservative leadership. The snap election followed a period of political turmoil marked by martial law and impeachment crisis. We examine the meaning of this transfer of power.
In the 20th presidential election, the Democratic Party lost by a mere 0.73 percentage points. In a snap election held just 3 years later, the DP vindicated itself with a landslide win. Political chaos followed the martial law and impeachment crisis. Pundits believe President Lee Jae-myung focused on the anxiety and disappointment felt by the public.
가장 대표적인 극단적인 형태가 바로 이번에 계엄이죠. 아예 야당을 전부 말살시켜버리겠다. 대한민국의 모든 권력을 혼자 갖고 영구적으로 그 권력을 누리겠다. 이게 군정을 시도한 군사 쿠데타의 본질입니다.
He became his party's presidential candidate early on with overwhelming support and joined forces with rivals within the party and quickly shifted to campaign mode. In contrast, the People Power Party's campaign launch was delayed following confusion and chaos that ensued after candidate Kim Moon-soo, who promised a unified candidacy with former Prime Minister Han Duck-soo during the primary, opposed the idea. Meanwhile, Lee continued to hold a clear lead in opinion polls, backed by the majority public opinion of wanting a change in government. With last-minute consolidation efforts falling through on the opposing side, Lee won the election by a wide margin.
주권자 국민께서 내란 정권에 대한 불호령 같은 심판을 내린 것이다 이렇게 판단됩니다.
The election was marred by election fraud conspiracies, extreme ideological showdowns, and hate speech. In the aftermath, unity is urgently needed by restoring politics of dialogue and compromise. Lee Jae-myung emphasized that there is no need to pick sides and hate each other, saying it's a presidential duty to achieve unity.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio issued an official statement about the inauguration of the Lee Jae-myung government and expressed hopes for strengthened cooperation in security and economic sectors, including trilateral cooperation among South Korea, the U.S., and Japan. The leaders of South Korea and the U.S. are expected to hold a phone conversation later today. Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba, meanwhile, congratulated President Lee on his inauguration, calling his election a testament to the strength of Korean democracy. He emphasized his desire to further promote exchanges between Japan and South Korea, including people-to-people interactions in the private sector, especially in this year, marking the 60th anniversary of the normalization of bilateral diplomatic ties. The Prime Minister also expressed the need for an early summit between the two leaders.